Hi, good morning, everyone. Just welcome all to the online webinar on how to design and execute successful online workshops. We are very, very pleased to have your attendance today with us. And I'm also very pleased to have with us today our guest speaker, Jeremy Liu. And we're going to start in a few minutes, waiting for a few people to join as well. And so let's kick off this webinar. So as I was explaining, my name is Paul Nunes-Dea. I'm going to say just 2 words about me, what I consider myself to be a collaboration architect. I have a PhD in management science from Lancaster University. I also have a Master of Science in Information Management, and my background is industrial and organizational psychologist. I also run a community in Portugal, Hospital do Futuro, so a little bit experiences also with community management. We have the pleasure to have today with us our guest speaker, Jeremy Liu. He's the co-founder of GroupMap, and he's best described as an accountant with a twist. He's going to explain that in a minute to you. Just probably you want to say hello, Jeremy?
Hi, everyone. Hi, nice to meet you all.
It's really a pleasure to have you here, Jamie. So let's kick off with a little bit of an introductory part on this webinar. And I would like to draw attention on 2 fundamental behavior types in groups, which are represented in these pictures. I would like to welcome you to use the chat function in the Zoom platform in order to please share what kind of behaviors are you observing in this slide. Will you be able to see different types of behaviors, such as people smiling at each other, on the other hand people explaining and looking seriously at each other? These are the 2 types of behaviors we identified as socializing behaviors on one hand and task-oriented behaviors on the other hand. Right? So these are the 2 types of conversations we can have in groups. Now, when we're running a workshop instead of a meeting, we are able to get both of the worlds, right? In a casual conversation, we normally listen carefully to what our friends are saying, so we have empathy and we understand individual needs. Whereas in meetings, in work meetings, normally we tend to be too assertive and we are just focusing on task behavior. Now, a workshop is a meeting that is organized in order to accomplish true dialogue. And this is important when we're able to do both of these dimensions in a meeting. So here's a definition of a workshop. It's a meeting where a group of people engage in a discussion prior to an upfront agreement on getting that meeting to have a purpose, right? So it's really important for people to commit to participate in a meeting with a purpose in mind, and that's the workshop. So basically groups run meetings, whereas teams run workshops. That's the difference. In terms of the structure, you have in a group normally a leader, a group leader. In a team, this is a little bit more self-organized, and different roles interact with each other in order to accomplish a task, right? In terms of the group, the processes are normally linear. In teams, we normally have different types of group processes I'm going to explain in a few minutes. Obviously, in what concerns results, the teamwork is much more engaging, and that's why we recommend workshops instead of meetings. So in order to run a workshop, we need to start with a number of shared goals we want to reach, but also we need to attend to individual needs, and specifically we need to manage the team process, the group process that happened during the meeting. And this is why tools like group decision support systems are so important to accomplish this goal. So in Group Vision, we researched a number of group decision support system tools, and we have found out that there's different tools in the market, but GroupMap is probably the most qualified tool to run workshop, online workshops. In terms of value, for cost effectiveness as well. GroupMap is a tool that develops a very simple process that everybody can use in order to run a workshop. So basically, it starts with the concept of a map. So you create a map, then you invite a team. The team captures the platform GroupMap captures each person, each participant for individual responses, and the group can then see the collective results, the collective output of the group. There are all different kinds of maps. You know, GroupMap offers you from start 40 team templates. So you can really start to design your workshop from scratch very easily. This is represented here, a number of maps. You can have like lists, charts, canvases. They are very popular canvases, and GroupMap offers lots of support for you to do online canvases, and obviously the mind maps. So I think that Jeremy is going to invite us to experiment a little bit with the tool during the course of this workshop. So you'll be prepared. If you're looking at the chat function on the Zoom, you'll be able to see a URL where you can access and experience GroupMap for yourselves during the course of these presentations. Another important feature of a group decision support system is to help the group to reach some conclusions, some decisions together. And GroupMap offers a number of options in that regard. So we have, starting from the simple dot voting feature that most group facilitators are so familiar with. You know, you can have participants to emulate the dot voting process that you can do in a face-to-face workshop. As to more sophisticated voting methods like rating or even sorting, right? The advantage is that you get all these results instantly. And finally, you can share the outcomes at the end, you know, and this is also an advantage of a group decision support system, is to have the group process documented at the end of the workshop. So you see who said what, who participated, what kinds of comments were produced. This is all very straightforward. If you use GroupMap, you have a set of reports in the end you can share with all the participants. Right? So any questions so far? You can use the question and answer panel, or also in the chat function, you can also type your questions. And I wanted to do a little bit of a question here in order to kickstart our practical question. Is I would like to know, I'm going to launch here, let me see, a voting. I'd like to know what will be your experience with online meetings? If you'd be so kind to share with us your experience with online meetings. Wow, I see that there's a group here that we have. Kido, let me share the results with you. So we have here a mixed group with people that run online meetings once a year, from people that are really experts in online meetings at least once a week. So, okay, thanks for your vote. Jeremy, it's up to you now.
Great. Oh, look, thanks very much for that introduction, Paul. So I'm just going to show you guys some examples of what GroupMap's been used for. It's a bit difficult with the virtual workshops. Obviously, we can't access our customers' information. So here are some tips that we've picked up from our users when they were conducting these workshops. So ideally, GroupMap is used for open-ended questions. So you guys just saw a poll, but where there are open-ended questions and you want to capture lots of different perspectives, this particular facilitator created an online environment where they would color code the teams. Paul, if you go to the next slide, it was actually quite a large face-to-face workshop. So they had 120 people participating at the same time, and they were using their devices on their mobiles, tablets, and laptops to capture their votes and their questions and their ideas. If you go to the next one, Paul. So to help facilitate the number of people at the event, they actually had shared devices with digital scribes, and they broke down into smaller work groups, each addressing one of those colored boxes. They would go away, add in their ideas, and then come back as a big group to discuss the overall results.
So this means, Jeremy, that GroupMap can also be used in face-to-face events, right?
Yep, it's face-to-face and online, so it's good for a blended environment. When we consider what the tool does, we don't necessarily consider whether or not it's a virtual environment or face-to-face one. Most of the time, the processes of capturing information and prioritization within the group is quite similar. But it obviously lends itself well to a virtual one because you can stage it a bit better, and you can have a lot more customization around it.
Yeah, but as everybody can see from these features, you know, that the kind of environment that is created, Jeremy, is nothing to do with the regular office, daily office meeting, right?
No, I mean, a lot of teams do use it for their daily retrospective lessons learned and project meetings, but the great thing about a digital tool, of course, is that you're not bound by an office environment. It can be online anywhere, really.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the next screen there. So again, in this case, there were 24 teams and they generated 157 ideas. The facilitator could then see all those results in real time. And whether you do that face-to-face or virtual, it's the same process. Mm-hmm. Go to the next one, Paul. I think the most important tip would be, while we've captured all this information, it doesn't get rid of the human element. So technology will speed up the process. It will make it feel very easy for the participants. They'll all feel like they have had a chance to input things, but it's really important that there is still a human conversation that helps to unpack what the group has come up with. So we can get them to vote, rate, score ideas, all that other information, but we still need a person to facilitate that, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So here are just some other examples. Again, these now are face-to-face and virtual. So these were just team building days around collaborative workshops, some of the questions that they were asking. The picture at the bottom was actually a blended one. So they were actually, the team was in one room, but their teams that they were working with were actually in 4 other locations. So they were actually all meeting at the same time. It's just that they were having a virtual meeting. So they would have a conference call, but then at the same time, they would see the results on their projector there. Yep. This one here, again, just another example of a large stakeholder meeting. They had this as a face-to-face conference, but they wanted to include people from the countryside and the regional areas. So they put their links of the workshop onto a website as well, and then participants who couldn't actually fly over to meet would then participate online. If you could go to the next one, please, Paul. And again, this one here was with a university. This one was a really interesting one because their workshop actually went over a course of 8 months because it had to do with cultural change. So they had a lot of physical meetings, but they also used Twitter, Facebook, their learning management system within the university, all the other digital tools and avenues and mediums that they had to encourage lots and lots of feedback. Mm-hmm. And this was just an output of that particular cultural change, which was a very bottom-up approach, really engaging with the system, they called it, but essentially that meant staff, students, contractors to come up with the values for the university.
Mm-hmm. This is really an interesting exercise. Do you think other universities will be interested to undertake this kind of in-depth self-reflection and come up across with this shared values?
I think a lot of organizations definitely do, and obviously they have a whole range of different ways of doing it. GroupMap wasn't the only tool that was used in cultural definition, but they used it as a way for building consensus as to which of the, I think they collected something like 32 different values from different people. GroupMap was used to work out which were the top 6, and they used information from all the workshops where they had gathered, well, what do these values actually mean when it comes to behavior for our staff? So defining and unpacking those values. But in general, we have other universities that use GroupMap, not necessarily for culture, but for education, training, strategic planning, and meetings. Yeah. This was an example of a community-based consultation. So they had a stall set up in the arena, but then they would hand out flyers with QR codes so that people could take it home, scan it on their mobile device, and they would contribute ideas about what they wanted to have within a particular town. In this case, swimming pool was a big deal for them. But the idea was to have, again, a blended environment between face-to-face and virtual.
Fantastic. But are these screens LCD screens, or are they printouts, map printouts?
No, that was actually a big LED screen that they had, displaying results from their website in real time, and then people would come up and they would add to it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Really impressive. Really high-tech solution.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, next one. GroupMap actually is also used a lot for education. So again, when you have flipped classroom environments, or again, if you have online training and you want to capture what people have said, then you can create templates that allow for more reflective exercises, education, case studies, those sorts of thinking activities. I think there's one more slide, Paul, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that will be the last one, I think. I really would like to thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today, Jeremy. One last question though is that why do you think your customers value most in GroupMap? Because I see that the product is very, very simple to use. It's really, in our impression, in our evaluation, and we research more than 20 or 30 GDSS tools. It's really one of the best GDSS tools in the market today, for comparing the number of features and the price, of course.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Paul.
Sorry?
Oh, thanks for that, Paul. That's very kind of you to say.
But on your impression, what it is that your customers value most in GroupMap? Okay,
well, I think the feedback that we get has generally been, yes, it's very easy to use, but because they can actually customize the template. So one of the big differences between GroupMap and the other tools is that it's not just a discussion board. We're not like a discussion board where you just feed sentences in. You can create a non-linear blank wall. But unlike a normal whiteboard, a virtual whiteboard, where everybody just posts their answers in and you can see what has been said, there's an individual brainstorming process. You can customize each of the steps. So you can control the voting, how people rate, you see the results in real time. But I really think that the thing that is different and part of why we've built the technology that way is to ensure that we've got the ability to customize their process flow of how people go through the journey of making a decision in real life using technology. So for example, with dot voting, if I was doing it face to face and I gave everyone 5 little sticky dot votes, as I'm going around doing my dot voting, I can see where other people have dot voted, and that actually influences my decision making. And that's not actually what you want. The quality of the outcome gets compromised because of groupthink. If I go ahead and I try and vote and I see that 50 people have already voted for one idea, I might not think it's a great idea and I have a good reason why, but I feel peer pressure to incline to do that. So something that GroupMap does is we vote individually, we rate individually, then we see the results, and then we can add action items. So there is the ability for each person to contribute as well as see the overall results.
Thanks a lot, Jeremy. So any questions, please, you can use the chat. I understand that one of our participants, Annette, has to leave at 11:30. I think we'll be over by then. Annette, so don't worry.
Paul, there's been 2 questions added into the group map itself.
Oh,
I can probably address both of them. So Frank's asked, what is the added value in a face-to-face meeting of using GroupMap given the extra overhead? In reality, from our point of view, there's no real difference in terms of how the technology is used. I guess the value of a face-to-face meeting is you can actually eyeball the person you're talking to. There is definitely a cost, and obviously there's always the drinks at the end of the workshop and that socializing aspect. There are, I guess, non-efficiency based values of a face-to-face meeting. But like I said, GroupMap is agnostic in that sense. You can use it virtually, you can use it face-to-face. The culture and desire for efficiency is what drives whether or not you decide to meet virtually as a team or face-to-face as a team. The second question was, have you used this for results-based planning, things like the logical framework approach? I haven't personally used that, but I know lots and lots of other consultants have their own proprietary mechanisms, their own process flow, their own intellectual property that they have customized over a series of workshops that they've run, and they create their own approach. So you end up with the idea of, well, I can now customize GroupMap to my process flow. But yeah, I can share something like the McKinsey approach has been used, to the most standard like SWOT, PEST, and PESTEL analysis, to environmental scanning, through to a whole bunch of problem-based case study logic steps that certain people use. One of our clients is a Deloitte in Germany, and they have a strategic long-term vision planning approach that they use. So again, it's really designed to be, you create what you want your template to look like, and then from that point on, you can use whatever thinking approach you want to use. And open space technology, one of the slides that Paul showed us actually was an example of GroupMap being used in an open space. The question was actually left out there, and iPads were available, and people would just come and pick up the iPad and then just start adding in their own information, through to the community consultation approach, where it was the general public. With the general public, there was someone standing there making sure that the iPad wasn't stolen. But the other one, in terms of the open space technology, really cool, because again, the results are popping up in real time on another screen. People have the ability to see what has already been said, but add to that and contribute and grow from it. So yeah, open space technology does work well. Either you can provide them with devices, or they can bring their own in. But thank you to those people who added in those questions. That's really great to hear.
Absolutely. Jeremy, so thanks a lot. And if there's no other questions, I would like to share just 3 of our last slides with you, which are important in my understanding, because definitely what we want to accomplish in Group Vision is to create a learning community around group decision support systems, and especially with GroupMap, a tool I love. And basically, we want to remove all the obstacles that are mentioned in the process of adopting these kind of tools. You know, group decision support systems are tools that are being used in face-to-face meetings. Group facilitators use flip charts and these dot voting with Post-its. And this is really a transition we want to accomplish in going digital, right? Also with these group support tools. So basically, the first barrier is the costs and the access to the tool. So as you're going to finalize this workshop, you all be able to experience a GroupMap free of charge for 30 days. And then if you decide to join, and the yearly access is really, really affordable. So it's not an expensive tool. Then, of course, there's the training part. And we are really committed to offer you a modular step-by-step training in order to use GroupMap very, very fast and easy. Really, we focus our training on adapting the tool to your group process, to the process you already use. For instance, if you're using open space technology, we can really train you on how to use GroupMap to do open space. And then we evolve on other training for other processes that you like to use, to have. And then finally, you have the coaching services attached, right? So our training also include hours of coaching. So we can also go side by side on you on the first meetings. You'll never be alone. You'll have someone behind you on your first meeting. So you can then become really, really proficient with the use of GroupMap. So once again, thank you all for attending. Jeremy, thank you all for your wonderful presentation and for sharing your experience with us. And let's meet again soon in the next event.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.